The next person I want to bring up is JT Wilcox. Richard introduced me to JT this morning, and it was funny because JT and I got to talking about when we first met. In 2010, JT was seeking office the same time I was, and we went to a campaign school together, and actually learned a lot. It was very informative, and we talked about how it seemed to be somewhat of a successful class. And when I first met JT, I couldn't quite figure him out because he was a conservative from Thurston County, and they don't make too many of those. So right away, I took a shine to him, and he's done some amazing things since he's been in the legislature. So please help me welcome JT Wilcox.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. Actually, I'm really jealous of people that live in Lewis County, because nobody is ashamed to be a Republican in Lewis County, are you?
No.
And we're not ashamed of it. Actually, I'm from Pierce County, just barely across the river. We're not ashamed of it there or in Thurston County either, but one of the things that we really struggle with is we can turn out a great group like this for Republican candidates here, and we've got big parts of the state where the other side has so successfully demonized Republicans that you have people that lean our way. You have plenty of business people that lean our way, vote our way, but they are afraid to be part of the Republican Party. And one of the missions that all of us have is we can't just retreat into our enclaves here in the rural parts of Pierce and Thurston County and the great Lewis County, where everyone is proud of the things that they stand for. We have to be sure that we are reaching out clear across the state, because we do not want to be a minority party. Our whole goal is to be a majority party, and instead of just pushing back and slowing down bad legislation, we've got to start passing our own. We've had a little example of that, and thank goodness you have probably the best politician in Washington representing you in the Senate, and I'm so sorry to see the only guy that gives him competition as the best politician in Washington, Richard, leaving. But I just want to recognize here Senator John Braun. No one's making a bigger difference than John Braun. Well, I'm here to introduce my friend and longtime mentor, Richard DeBolt. It was a sad day when he finally confirmed that he was not going to stay in the House of Representatives. And I hope that you all go back and watch his announcement speech on the floor of the House. And I want to give you a little bit of a sort of behind-the-scenes story. Richard and I have sat together on the House floor for 8 years, and we get texts from people telling us to shape up sometimes when we're in the TV shot. I've learned so much from him. Sometimes we're not as serious as others think that we should be. And because we're always in the same shot, and Richard is up with the microphone all the time, we have this little game that we play. Whenever one of us is speaking, the other one has agreed to look up with an adoring look as if we are listening to a speech by Socrates or Churchill. And it is so hard to give a speech when you know that Richard is doing that to you. But Richard gave a little bit of a tearjerker of a speech, and I knew that he'd go back and look at that on TVW, and a lot of his friends would. So when you go back and look at that, pay attention, because one of the things that I'm doing, it was a really good speech, but I wanted Richard to remember me, so right in the middle of it, I took off my glasses, wiped my eyes a little bit. There are a million stories about Richard, and I'm not going to tell them all. If you watch probably the last day of the legislature, you're going to hear a bunch of good ones there. But Richard has mentored so many people. For sure me, I know he's been mentoring Peter for many years because he knew that this day was going to come. But he's made an impact clear across the state. There's probably no Republican in our generation that has touched as many people as Richard DeBolt has, always in a positive way, in an extremely memorable way. I know he's going to stay in this community. He's going to keep making a difference. But I'm just going to take off my glasses and wipe my eyes one more time that Richard's not going to be sitting next to me another term. But thank goodness he's done such a great job in mentoring his successor. Would you come up and introduce Peter, please, Richard?
Thank you.